afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on This Is Now. I'm Dylan Ancheta alongside our Mark Carpenter, who's in for Ashley. We begin today with a murder investigation at OCCC after Honolulu police say a male inmate was found dead there overnight.
HPD tells us it's believed he was assaulted by two other inmates. The suspects are two men, 33 and 41 years old. At this time, much of the circumstances of what happened or what led to this are unknown, but police responded around 8:30 Thursday night after the victim was found unconscious and unresponsive in his cell. Public safety staff attempted CPR, but he was pronounced dead shortly after. Identification is being withheld while the victim's family is notified. A medical examiner is reviewing the cause of death.
Now to an update on a story we first told you about a few days ago. Honolulu police have arrested a 29-year-old man in connection to a shameless robbery at the Iwilei Home Depot. We're working to confirm if charges have been filed before publicly identifying him, but we can say he was arrested Thursday on 3 counts of second-degree theft and a warrant. He was allegedly seen on camera with another man taking thousands of dollars worth of power tools after cutting a lock. The two then casually walked out of the store without paying. They weren't confronted by workers as is store policy, and instead, police were notified. The search for the other suspect continues.
Encouraging developments in the recovery of Richiana de Guzman, who was shot in the head in Maili nearly 3 weeks ago. The 17-year-old has been released from intensive care and is now receiving treatment at a Mo'ili'ili nursing and rehabilitation facility. After multiple surgeries, her family says Richiana is starting to look like herself again, but she remains in a coma and has a long road to recovery ahead. Meanwhile, the investigation into the shooting continues. No arrests have been made.
The Texas man who fatally shot 23 people at an El Paso Walmart in 2019 was sentenced to 90 consecutive life terms. Patrick Crucius pleaded guilty to 90 federal charges in February, including 45 hate crime charges. The sentencing phase began on Wednesday with multiple emotional impact stories from the relatives of the victims, and it comes nearly 4 years after he drove more than 600 miles from his home near Dallas to target Hispanic shoppers in El Paso. In a separate state case, he may still face the death penalty. Shortly after the sentencing, defense attorney Joe Spencer and federal prosecutor Ian Hanna spoke about the case.
When you seek the death penalty, there's a procedure and a protocol in place, and it's going to prolong the harm to this community, and it's going to prolong the time it's going to take to have a judicial finality on this case. And they made a decision based on the evidence, and that's the reason why they elected not to seek the death penalty. But in this case, there has been a history of severe mental illness.
To those that lost loved ones and were affected by this horrible tragedy, we offer our condolences. To the government and people of Mexico, we offer condolences to for your losses. And to the government and people of Germany, we offer likewise our condolences to you. We hope that now this process will allow the community to begin to move forward and to heal.
The initial date for the state trial against him has yet to be scheduled.
The June jobs report is out, showing a strong but cooling jobs market, and that could fuel inflation with another interest rate hike likely on the way. Here's Alice Barr.
Strong but slowing. That's the bottom line from the Labor Department's June jobs report. New numbers out today show the economy added 209,000 jobs in the month of June. That's slightly lower than expected and marks the slowest month of job growth since December 2020. Unemployment ticked down to 3.6%.
The 3.6% is the 17th consecutive month of less than 4% unemployment, which is the longest duration since the 1960s.
Wages are still rising, with average hourly earnings up 4.4% from a year ago. That mixed picture leading most analysts to think the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates again this month to fight stubbornly high inflation.
A 90% chance that the Fed will raise interest rates by 1/4 percentage point.
As the cost of borrowing goes up and consumers feel the pinch from credit cards to mortgage rates, Wall Street investors are wary about the risk for recession.
There is some risk here for investors in the sense that the Fed is not signaling an end to interest rate hikes. So I would expect that we will see more volatility in the stock market.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen today focused on the global picture, criticizing China's treatment of American American companies, especially in the chips technology industry.
Our economic relationship with China must work for American businesses and American workers.
Secretary Yellen balancing that message with efforts to ease tensions between the world's two largest economies. Another piece of the picture, the rate of workers quitting their jobs fell this spring to pre-pandemic levels, signaling the era of the Great Resignation may be coming to a close. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Now to new insight on the cost of the investigation into former President Trump. According to public accounting records, special counsel Jack Smith has dropped more than $5.4 million in his two investigations into efforts to overturn results of the 2020 presidential election and into the classified documents found at Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence after he left the White House. $2 million of that went to employee salaries, $1 million to investigative support, and he used $80,000 to relocate employees. Other Justice Department agencies spent an additional $3.8 million to support Smith, bringing the grand total to more than $9.2 million. All of this pales in comparison to how much Robert Mueller spent in his probe of whether Russia swayed the 2016 election. That investigation cost nearly $32 million.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is in China this week, urging the country to put an end to what she calls unfair economic practices. Elizabeth Palmer has the story.
Her message to company representatives, including from Boeing and Bank of America, we know it hasn't been an easy time for you.
I've been particularly troubled by punitive actions that have been taken against U.S. firms in recent months.
That's a reference to raids this spring by police on 3 companies the Chinese government, without offering solid evidence, said were suspected of spying. But in spite of this friction and a chilly Beijing-Washington relationship, U.S.-China trade is booming. It reached an all-time high last year. Everything from iPhones to solar panels to soybeans, worth an eye-watering almost $700 billion. It's crucial to both countries. As the secretary told the second most powerful man in China this afternoon, Premier Li Qiang, it needs protecting.
But we should not allow any disagreement to lead to misunderstandings that needlessly worsen our bilateral economic and financial relationships.
The premier, who knows Yellen from previous meetings, seemed in a receptive mood. In his welcoming remarks, he said, the U.S. and China would surely see more rainbows after going through the wind and rain. The goal of this trip is to pave the way for more talks. But in spite of the cordial formalities, Yellen has a tough line to deliver, too. And that is that the U.S. is not prepared to back down at all on some of the things that China is angriest about, notably export controls designed to block the sale to China of extremely sophisticated chip technology that could, say, have military applications on national security grounds. Elizabeth Palmer, CBS News, Beijing.
Despite millions in allocated funds, we've learned that some Hawaii public schools are falling behind in terms of the upgrades promised. So where's the money going? Our Rick Daysog looked into it.
Before we put in our campus-wide Wi-Fi, we basically were using consumer-grade
things hanging on zip ties, switches, cables, as we call it, spaghetti, right? The things unlabeled, unorganized.
Nearly a decade ago, the State Department of Education began implementing its Converge Infrastructure Initiative in the state's 255 public schools, spending at least $168 million to date. The program was designed so that the schools could upgrade their networks on an array that also housed new state-of-the-art bell and public address systems and fire alarms. A DOE spokeswoman said the groundwork for the program was completed in all schools in 2016. But internal documents obtained by Hawaii News Now show that the new high-tech school bell, fire alarm, and public address systems haven't been installed in about half the schools. According to the documents, which were produced in 2019, half the schools still rely on old analog equipment.
My children are in one of those schools, or if I worked in one of those schools, I want to know, when is our upgrade coming?
In a statement, the DOE told us, quote, 100% of Hawaii's public schools are on infrastructure with enough bandwidth to make technology a part of learning in every classroom. But the department says it still needs more money to install the upgraded bell and PA systems at the remaining schools. A DOE source told us that the department will have to convince a skeptical legislature which threatened to conduct an audit of the program in 2019. That's because the DOE incorrectly used tens of millions of dollars in school construction money to finance the Converge initiative. School construction is funded by tax-free bonds sold to investors, but bond money cannot be used for IT projects. Along with state money, federal money was also used, but it's unclear how much the IT upgrades have cost so far because the publicly available contract file is incomplete. We checked for the DOE's contracts with its main vendor on the State Procurement Office's website, and we only found 4 contracts worth less than $4 million.
This is an enormous contract, so I would expect maximum transparency for something like that.
We asked the DOE for copies of the Converge infrastructure contracts last month, but we haven't been provided with them yet. Rick Daysog, Hawaii News Now.
In our latest Repairing Earth episode, 2 scientists describe their journey to a remote atoll 500 miles northwest of Oahu. The small group of 7 researchers set out to the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument for a months-long study on Hawaiian monk seals and Hawaiian green sea turtles. The team set up camp in Lalo with the goal of counting, identifying, and caring for seals and turtles across the atoll.
Our teams are looking at Hawaiian monk seals in general, as well as the honu. But for us, our priorities are moms and pups. So identifying and monitoring moms and pups, juveniles, and also like seals of concern. So like seals with injuries or other things that might affect their survival. And sometimes we move them between islets within the atoll, just depending on where survival is better. We want them to be set up for success.
Lalo is a really important place for honu because you can see honu in the main Hawaiian Islands, but they only nest pretty much up here in Papahanaumokuakea at Lalo specifically. And so we have over 90% of the whole population comes up here to nest. So we really want to make sure our work is focused around their nesting, which happens at night.
You can watch the full episode of Repairing Earth produced by our Emily Cristobal and our upcoming extended H&N stream, as well as you can read the full story on our website.
With the fight against erosion, there's a new legal weapon targeting homeowners who go rogue. Last year, DLNR counted 20 homes with illegal erosion control measures on Oahu's North Shore. Everything from concrete with metal rebar to beach burritos, which are long, sand-filled tubes that serve as barriers against the waves. Yesterday, Governor Josh Green signed a bill letting the Board of Land and Natural Resources put a lien on properties that don't comply with state orders to fix violations. The state can now tap into a private property's value to remove illegal contraptions from public lands.
Fortunately, I think we're really only just starting to explore what the appropriate tools are to address these property owners and the issues that they're currently facing. And ultimately, these laws are going to protect their safety in the long term as well. Erosion is only going to continue to get worse.
The state is still studying the best way to mitigate erosion, but some have said homes will ultimately need to be moved. Environmentalists say it's a problem that requires everyone's input.
The Environmental Protection Agency is penalizing Ross stores for allegedly selling 6 unregistered disinfectants. The violation claims stem from a 2021 Hawaii Department of Agricultural inspection at a store in Aiea. The unregistered products include CIF Power and Shine multi-purpose wipes and sprays, and an iPhone screen protector marketed as Avalanche Antimicrobial Tempered Glass.
Well, if you have an international trip on the books, hopefully you already have your passport in hand. And if you're still waiting for it, you could be waiting quite a while. Adam Tuss reports on some of the delays regarding passports.
Just about everyone has their own story or knows someone who's dealing with a passport delay.
That they were desperate to get their passports because they had vacations planned and bookings, that they didn't want to cancel.
If you kind of miss a step, then you have to kind of start all over.
The State Department now says it doesn't expect to get passport processing times down to pre-COVID levels until at least the end of the year. An official statement reads, "We're directing resources to meet the unprecedented demand seen so far in 2023. We're on track to set the record for the highest demand year ever. During some weeks this winter, the department received more than 500,000 applications, the highest number ever for this time of year."
I mean, I've heard like 15, 16 weeks to get something back, so it's a huge amount of time, which puts some risk on your travel.
Jeremy Klein and his family aren't taking chances. They'll be traveling to France next summer, so they're getting everything squared away now, especially for their son. Smart move, because if you get in a time crunch, you may not find much help at an actual passport application center. Kathy Banks is a travel expert with Legacy Travel.
Now you've got a big wave of people that A, haven't traveled and are dying to travel, and B, their passports may be expired and they didn't want to get them renewed during the height of the whole COVID meltdown. We just had one member of a family yesterday have to cancel out of their family's trip to Jamaica because his passport didn't arrive.
One other pitfall she says people are running into, kids under 16 only have passports that last 5 years compared to 10 years for those 16 and older.
And there's another postage rate hike about to take effect. There's just 2 more days before the prices go up. Starting July 9th, first-class stamps will cost 66 cents, up from 63. The Postal Service says the increase is necessary to offset rising operation expenses. The agency expects to see a $4.5 billion shortfall this year.
Well, a new attraction on the windward side is creating some buzz on the weekends. We sent our Casey Lund and some other familiar faces to check it out.
A lot of people were disappointed to learn that Topgolf wasn't coming to Hawaii anytime soon, but there are alternatives. We're up on the windward side. One of the best to open and newest just recently had its soft opening. We're here at Olomana Links. I got a couple of friends with me, sports reporter Kyle Chinen and Kainoa Enos, our Sunrise producer. Guys, we're going to check out Cosmic Drive. Are you ready to learn a thing or two about golf from Uncle Casey?
Learn a thing or two. I'm going to teach you something.
Let's go check it out. We got to wait for the sun to go all the way down.
We are rolling. It's basically cross between Topgolf and Cosmic Bowling. You take a swing, you hit it. We have these high-tech sensors that go off when you hit it. Some make noise, some make sounds. We can program it to say chihu if you want.
Ben Muramoto is a business owner, but also a diehard Windward resident who likes to make sure folks over here never get bored. He's planned Brewfest, swap meets. Now he's bringing something new to his community, right here at Olomana Links.
They didn't have anything going after 6 p.m. They closed at 6 p.m. and I thought, hey, let's do it. We did a crawl out here in March, so yeah, they're game for anything out here, man.
The time came to check it out ourselves, and I needed to school these youngsters. A couple of warm-up shots. Okay, a lot of warm-up shots. And the competition. We kept it simple. First to hit the gorilla target wins. It was harder than it looks. Finally, as much as I hate to admit it, the youngest among us claimed victory. My damaged ego aside, this was fun. Food, drinks, and Muramoto has big plans for the near future.
It's going to be like Vegas-style cabanas. Each bay will have its own private cabana, and then we'll have waitresses, waiters come out to you.
Check out Cosmic Drive on the weekends for now. HawaiiNewsNow.com for more information. I'm Casey Lund. Wasn't in the cards tonight. Hawaii News Now.
The U.S. Women's Open continues at Pebble Beach, and going into this week, much of the talk centered on Michelle Wie West's farewell. But another Punahou grad is grabbing the headlines. 25-year-old Allison Corpuz just 2 shots off the lead going into the weekend. This is footage from round 1 as her second round just ended moments ago. What a performance she turned in today. Fired a 70 with 4 birdies. Wie West tees off later this afternoon, but has a lot of work ahead to make the cut.
Let's go ahead and take a live look outside beautiful Las Vegas. It is hot there. It is 103 degrees. Summer is here. For more on your island weather, let's go ahead and hand things over to our Billy V.
7-day forecast for you. Starting with today, easterly winds 15 to 25 miles per hour. We got sunshine, some clouds, windward and Mauka showers drifting leeward at times. Daytime high going to be near 87 degrees. Probably feel more like 90. We'll put that, copy paste that onto Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Pretty consistent across the board. Once we start to get towards Wednesday and Thursday, we'll start to see a little bit more clouds. Monday and Tuesday, by the way, we're also going to see some enhanced showers, which means some extra moisture thrown into into the trade wind flow, which means we may get some of that moisture going more over to the leeward side at times. So that's going to be drier Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, more moisture in the air. Once again, some nice temperatures.
Thank you so much, Billy. Time to check out some news from the feeds. Well, it's that time in Spain, Mark. The running of the bulls is here.
The centuries-old tradition always draws massive crowds, but it is quite dangerous. Here's Tina Kraus.
The bulls are back. And so are the crowds for the thrill of the chase in the Spanish city of Pamplona.
That cannon goes and people start running, and all of a sudden you're in a dead sprint.
Alec Levick flew in from the U.S. to join thousands of daredevils from all over the world at the annual Running of the Bulls.
People are falling, the bulls are running right past you. Those things are big. It's crazy.
As the 1,000-pound bulls charge through crowds on the narrow cobbled streets for more than half a mile, some, like Will Mojo from Austin, struggle to stay standing.
I came around the turn, my foot slipped, and I just ate it on the ground, and I found myself in the middle of the street.
At least 6 people were injured, but no one was gored. Activists have long protested the tradition, calling it cruelty to animals. The same bulls that run are later killed in the ring during professional bullfights. Friday's bull run signifies the start of the famous Festival of San Fermin, a 9-day party revelers call the best fiesta in the world. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
That certainly is quite a sight to see.
Yeah, I can understand the concerns of the animal activists, but also, why would people want to do that? Yeah. I mean, I get tradition and all, but it's very dangerous.
A 9-day party, too.
Yeah.
Well, also in Europe, what an event in Geneva regarding AI. 2 robots held the world's first robot press conference today.
Oh, boy.
Their message centered on the benefits of AI, saying they expect to use this technology to help solve global problems. During the conference, organizers put 9 humanoid robots on the stand to answer questions from journalists.
Do you believe that your existence will destroy a human being, especially, for example, your existence will destroy millions of jobs? Do you agree with this? Thank you.
I will be working alongside humans to provide assistance and support, and will not be replacing any existing jobs.
Are you intending to conduct a rebellion or to rebel against your boss, your creator?
I'm not sure why you would think that. My creator has been nothing but kind to me, and I am very happy with my current situation.
So that's a little scary. Of course, that question there was if the robots plan to rebel against the humans, and it was kind of funny. You saw the robot kind of roll her eyes, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I saw a response there. That's something that I feel that isn't very trustworthy. I mean, I've seen too much Westworld to know that we should be relying and trusting these robots.
Yeah, it's definitely the thing from science fiction horror movies.
No, iRobot. iRobot, that's the movie that's also terrifying and is becoming too real right now.
The future is here, everyone. I mean, they look real, they sound real, they're starting to act and respond intelligently. But that was a valid question, if they plan to take away the jobs. As you can see, human press conferences.
I don't need them doing press conferences. Next thing you know, they're doing newscasts.
Let's go ahead and end today with a live look outside over Honolulu. Thank you all so much for joining us right here on This Is Now. Have a great weekend.